when I was with the Giants in the locker room. I just couldn't relate to these guys anymore. And I was actually, too much information in the shower. Yeah. And a guy looked over to me and he said, Brandon, I used to watch you growing up when I was in elementary. I was like, oh, it's time to get out of this game. It's time to get out.
Awkward
I know it was too much information, but come on, man.
By the way, speaking of SpongeBob and Frozen, if you're in New York City, especially if you have kids, either of those musicals are extraordinary.
I didn't see the SpongeBob one.
The SpongeBob musical is one of the most spectacular light shows you'll ever see, and Frozen's Frozen, obviously cinematic and Broadway masterpiece.
Excellent. Frozen was excellent. Yes, Frozen.
Absolutely. Jamal Williams, real quick, tougher to play in, the snow or the rain?
Rain.
That's what I figured. Yeah. Snow can be fun, it would appear.
No, not for a receiver. We don't want any of those conditions.
But then it's all the catches look all the prettier.
It's dome or bust for receivers.
Dome
or bust.
No.
Let's get back to Kirk Cousins and the Vikings in Seattle to take on the Seahawks last night. We'll pick this game up in the third quarter. Russell Wilson finds David Moore deep. It's a 60-yard touchdown, and it puts Seattle up 27-17, part of their 24 unanswered points in this one. But the Vikings would not go away. Cousins to Cal Rudolph for the great catch. That made it 34-30, just over 7 minutes to go in the fourth. Last chance for the Vikings here. Cousins looking for Irv Smith. He cannot connect on fourth down as Seattle holds on to win their fifth straight game. 37-30 was your final. They now own the top spot in the NFC West. Here's Russell Wilson after the win.
Well, we're right where we want to be, and we just got to keep working hard, keep staying poised, keep staying neutral. Don't go too high, don't get too low. Ignore the noise and play ball. Let's go win. Why not? Why not us? We really believe that. We really believe that we have everything that we need, and we have everything that we want. And we got a lot of great players, and we can do it.
Talk about a team playing their best football with just a couple games left heading into the playoffs. Nick, how dangerous is this Seahawks team when the playoffs arrive?
Oh, I think they're very dangerous. Not only because of Russ, but because I think they're 10-2, and I feel, Brandon, that their defense is underachieving. You've got Clowney, who's been dinged. Bobby Wagner, maybe the best linebacker in all of football. We know the secondary can be better than it's been. Trey Flowers, Griffin. We know that to me, the defense has been somewhat disappointing this year, but given Pete Carroll's coaching, and I know you think that there's an element of teams know what to expect as far as what the Seahawks are going to do defensively.
Correct.
That could work against them, but the offense can beat you a bunch of different ways. They led the league in rushing last year, but it was more just because they were so stubborn about it, more so than it was effective. They just ran the ball a bunch. This year, they're running the ball a lot, but they're much more effective yards per carry. Russell Wilson's having the best year of his career, and he's always been a great player. And 10-2, undefeated on the road, having won in Pittsburgh, in Philly, in San Francisco.
Tough.
So while they are positioning themselves to where the road to the Super Bowl could go through Seattle if they run the table the rest of the way, if they do have to go on the road and win a playoff game, they have shown you this season that they can do that.
You know what? It's something interesting about them. I was there last year. They're actually a better road team. Isn't that weird?
Which is because that was not the narrative or the beginning of the Russell Wilson era.
Correct, and their two losses this year has been at home.
To very good teams.
And one of the reasons why, man, when you get on that flight, I mean, everything's a production with Coach Carroll. When you get on that flight till you get to the hotel, it's all about team. I mean, they have movies, they have all types of things they do. Even the rah-rah that goes on in the team meeting, it's like you're at a zoo. It's unbelievable.
Well, what's different with this team than on some of the other teams you've played with?
Culture, championship culture every single day. Every single day you have to bring it. And it's also a positive environment. Coach lets you be yourself. Like, hey, Brandon, we want you to be yourself. Don't be something different. Hey, Russell, we want you to be yourself. Don't be anything different. But to answer your question, let's get to it. Like, all right, I look at the 5 teams that are 10-2 right now. You have the Saints, you have the 49ers, you have the Ravens, you have the Pats, and then you have the Hawks. All right, let's look at the Ravens. To me, they're the best team. All right, they're the best team sitting at 10-2. The 49ers are pretenders to me. The Pats are the weakest. All right, and then you have the Saints. I don't have a great word for them, but they're almost like that letdown team. Like you have the Saints and you have the Seahawks sitting in the NFC Championship. A lot of people say the Saints should win that. I don't think they do that. I don't think they win. The Seahawks, to me, are the scariest, not the dangerous. They are the scariest team. Why? Because they can do it all. You're giving a quarterback who really don't need many weapons to make it happen. He can win 7 games himself, and he has weapons. And he has a running game. He has a dynamic offensive coordinator that's putting his guys in position. And then the defensive side, no, they're not playing well, but one of the things that's going to happen, they're going to get healthier, and that front four can dominate the playoffs. That's why this is the scariest team to me in all of football.
Especially, listen, that right before the season acquisition of Jadeveon Clowney for a 3rd-round pick and a couple backup linebackers.
Still.
One of the best moves anyone's made all season. And we don't know if Clowney's going to be there next year. They agreed not to franchise tag him, so they've got him for this season, and then we'll see. He was excellent last night once again. One other thing about the Seahawks, and I want you to speak to this if you can, because a lot of people thought this was going to be not a rebuilding, but a retooling era, because they paired the Legion of Boom, all gone. The only guys left from the Super Bowl team, I think, are Russell, Wagner, and KJ Wright. Maybe not even the punter. I think it's just those 3 guys as far as frontline players. Last year, that retooling had already begun, but they still had Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin's now gone, and the team is fully Russell's. How being there with some of those guys still there, like Baldwin and Russell, and now seeing this team now, what did you see building last season that can explain what we're seeing this season?
Wow. It's a lot to this. I don't think we've seen the best of Russell Wilson yet.
Really?
No, because it's, to your point, it's never been his team. This is the first year it's his team. You have Wagner on the other side. He's like that emotional leader. He's the rock of that team. But as far as like the leader, I am the guy. I am the franchise guy, the face of the franchise. He's never been that. Why? Not because of like we have all these superstars, but because of the personalities. I was able to sit there last year and I seen Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin, one of my favorite receivers, all-time competitor. He's a fierce leader. But that dynamic was interesting to me. I felt like Doug Baldwin didn't let Russell Wilson be Russ and be great. You know, it was like, what about this? What about that? And I'm looking, I'm like, shit, I played with, excuse my language, I'm sorry, but I played with 17 quarterbacks. 17 quarterbacks. You have a guy that's a Hall of Fame quarterback. There's nothing to complain about. There's nothing. And for Russ to have to manage all of these personalities, from Doug Baldwin to Richard Sherman to Michael Bennett, who I love, and all these other guys, it's like, it's added
now there's
pressure.
one voice.
It's another dynamic
it's one
to
voice
it.
And
like you're not just competing against the 49ers, the Rams. You're competing against the defense on the other side, which is great.
Exactly.
Competition is #1 in that program. But at the same time, you got to have a level of respect for your peers. And I think that line was crossed sometimes. And now we're going to see the best of Russ till 45.
We kind of just sort of quickly said, well, their defense will get better. They're not playing that great. But how concerned are you as we get to the last couple games here with where their defense is?
Well, I'm going to talk about why I think the defense can get better, and then I'll let Brandon explain why teams are having success against the defense, because you talked to me about this off the air, and I think it's really interesting. The reason I think their defense can get better is, you know, in almost all sports, my first question is, how talented is the roster?
Yeah. And
to me, they have an A to an A+ level guy at each level of the defense. Clowney is a superstar. He is usually, the biggest play he made last night was in the run game. He is a dominant pass rusher, even if he doesn't have the sacks to back that up. That also plays the run exceptionally well. He was playing out of position in Houston. They were making him play 5 technique. He was having the 2-gap guys. That's not what he's supposed to be doing, and he still was a great run defender in that scheme. Bobby Wagner is a future first ballot Hall of Fame
100%.
player. And the secondary, Trey Flowers is probably your best guy, so I don't know if he's an A-level player, but dating back to USC, if one thing Pete Carroll does well, it's coach up secondaries. So I do think they have the talent to be better than a team that 7 times this year has allowed 25 or more points, near the tops in the league because of the offense and Russ. They're 5-2 in those games. Everyone else got a losing record in those games. But you said something interesting about, because Carroll does what he does, teams know what to expect from Seattle's defense, which is one of the reasons it's not being as effective as maybe it should. Explain that to the audience before we go.
Yeah, I'll try to explain it without using the S word again. That was awesome. Anyways, here we go. The issue and the challenge with Seattle, and the only reason why they won't contend, this is the only challenge that they have to overcome, is that everyone, even analysts, people on TV, experts on TV who've never played the game, they understand the responsibilities and the roles of that entire defense. This defense hasn't changed. So you know going in on first down, 1st and 10, and there's 2-by-2, meaning there's 2 receivers over here, there's 2 receivers over here. You know exactly how that defense is supposed to play out. You know what the Mike backer's supposed to do, Bobby Wagner. You know what KJ Wright's going to do. You know what the corner's going to do. You motion the guy. You know how that changed the secondary. You talked about the secondary, and you talked about how they're giving up so many points. You're right, but I don't think it's from a talent standpoint. I think it comes down to from a schematic standpoint, not from the defensive side and the Seattle Seahawks side, but from the offensive coordinators coming in. We know coming in that if we go 3-by-1 on 3rd down,
what they're going to do.
You put a speed receiver there, you know it. Everyone's doing the same thing over and over again. One of the things what make them great is that they are super consistent in their approach, but now we understand that offensively we can change things.
Right.
Defensively, you do the same thing, you will get exposed eventually.
But right now, they've already hit their over for their preseason expected win total. They got 4 games left. If they had lost last night, they would be in really rough shape to win the division. They now are in control of their own destiny for a bye. They could get the 1 seed. That is way overachieving in a league for teams like the Eagles and Cowboys that are wildly underachieving.
Much more on this game and everything else on Undisputed. It starts right now.
Great job, Brandon.